Hello everyone, this is MXA News and welcome to the November Stories, where this month we will talk about economic and political activity within the United States, more international conflict escalating, tech companies acting unethically and hoping you look away, and a little bit of good news. Join us today on MXA News. Today in National Stories, earlier last month, Bernie Sanders had led a probe against a doctor that undersupplied his hospitals while he sailed around in a $41 million yacht. Also earlier in October, Bernie Sanders had led an initiative to block weapons funding to Israel. The United States is not the only one considering this, as countries around the world, including Spain, are now discussing the blocking of weapons funding. Remember people, this man is way too radical for the Democrats. Scarelli is not the first nor last capital investor to price gouge medicine. Even if prices for insulin lowered to $35, the FTC isn't willing to let it go. Why did insulin escalate in the first place? That is the question that the FTC is demanding to be answered. If the lawsuit succeeds, this could lead to lowering costs for insulin. As of now, Gavin Newsom, governor of California, had signed a bill that bars medical debt from people's credit reports. For the longest time, medical debt inhibited many from home ownership, vehicle purchases, or personal loans. With striking medical debt from their credit reports, this opens more opportunities for the California consumer and it lessens the influence of the credit bureaus. The International Longshoremen Association launched a strike when shipping companies were slow on pay raises and were considering automation that would have put many out of work. However, due to Howard Daggett's expressed solidarity with Trump praying for him after his attempted assassination, some had questioned the legitimacy of the strike. It doesn't matter what one individual said in the past when the matter was a labor-related one. This is more than petty and personal politics, but this also didn't stop local newspaper from doxing the man's home address to the public. This was a clear and blatant disregard for him and his family's safety, which served as a distraction from the fact that shipping companies were trying to get one over on their employees. Hurricane Helene devastated the Southeast and the Appalachians. It was unprecedented, being that the Appalachians aren't normally hit by hurricanes. When FEMA came to respond, right-wing militias came out to harass them due to misinformation. Republicans were sure to politicize the crisis and blame Biden for the lack of aid. This is despite the fact that Republicans shot down all refunding for disaster relief. Mike Johnson quoted as saying,
"Well, the fact is, I think that many people have not fully understood, is that we did address it, and we did appropriate $20 billion additional dollars to FEMA with early drawdown authority. So they're sitting on a giant pile of cash, and they haven't used it yet. As of Monday of this week, the Biden administration had only sent out about 1% of those dollars. They'd only distributed 1%.
Well, he's kind of right. Okay, so first of all, he didn't appropriate any additional dollars. He used the word additional. What he did is instead of giving FEMA the money they needed to complete the 2024 year budget because the disaster relief fund ran out of money, they originally were going to give FEMA $10 billion as part of the CR, but then the speaker stripped that out. Instead, what they said is you can start drawing money down from your 2025 budget early, which did give FEMA money. So he's right there, gave them $20 billion. So he's kicking the problem down the line. Now, what he didn't say is out of that $20 billion, $8 billion is already committed because FEMA has $8 billion of expenses from previous storms to reimburse that was on hold.
In international news, the UN attempted to develop a resolution between Ukraine and Russia, only for the resolutions to be dismantled by Russia. Russia's reasoning for doing so was concerns about the resolution being heavily skewed towards Western interests. The only nations who sided with Russia were Belarus, Iran, Nicaragua, and Syria, while everyone else condemned Russia for their amendments. The African Union going as far as to say to outright reject the amendments. Needless to say, Ukraine will have much more to endure in the future. In a bid to de-escalate by escalating, Israel detonated pagers and various devices around Lebanon without a way to verify where the devices were, so the devices detonated in households, markets, and various locations. Israel invaded Lebanon as a means of ending Hezbollah's rocket attacks against Israel, which would have never happened if Israel didn't launch a destructive campaign against Gaza. Hezbollah launched missiles at Israel in retaliation for its brutal campaign against Gaza. But after they detonated the pagers, then they airstruck residential areas of Lebanon and initiated a ground invasion, Netanyahu threatening to reenact what happened to Gaza on Lebanon. Yet, when Iran retaliated by launching missiles against Israel, the media suddenly understood the risk of civilian casualties despite pretending not to when Israel did the same. As of now, Israel launched their missiles against Iran in retaliations. It's speculated that Israel is attempting to drag the US into their conflict to prolong the conflict, and with the US scrambling its troops towards the area, things aren't looking good for the Levant area. In tech news, Elon Musk hosted an event to demonstrate robots he promised to build. But it turns out that the guests weren't served by robots, but rather by people in costumes. Meta laid off several employees over the use of their meal cards. Many employees at Meta were using the meal cards to acquire toothpaste and other products not covered by the card. For this, the company terminated their employees instead of reevaluating the pay scale with the cost of living. In highlights of the month, the Ohioans of East Palestine are getting compensation for Norfolk Southern's disastrous chemical spill derailment, but every recipient must forego the right to sue Norfolk Southern for medical complications that may eventually rise, including cancer. The FTC just made canceling subscriptions easier. After a rule in place by the FTC, companies can no longer delay a consumer's ability to cancel a subscription. You've seen it. Companies making it near impossible to evade the subscription buttons, but get squirrely when you're looking for that cancel button. As per the FTC, now they must make this possible and easy. If they don't, they could be sued by the FTC for non-compliance. If you like what we do, consider subscribing to us on Patreon. You can check out my articles on Medium. Other than that, thank you for the support you have all given me so far. And when you're going forward into the world, remember to keep fighting the good fight.